Okay. It says you shouldn't walk into a company and say, I'm going to make this record. Give you an advance, and then for the tenure of that, the entire time your album's out, you're working to pay back that advance. He said that's illegal. He said Pharrell then went on to say, no bank gives a company a loan to start a company, walks away with the trademarks. He says no one should own you. Bank gives a company a loan to start a company and walks away with the trademarks. Oh, when I saw this, I was like, well, damn, Pharrell is making a point. The question that popped up in my head was one, okay, so he's making a point, which could be looked at as valid, but I mean, is there an alternative to that? Is there an alternative to the advance? Because at the end of the day, we all know.
How about them just not owning it?
That's fair. That's fair. Record label is not about we want to make sure that you're the greatest. Like, they have to make sure they hit them numbers. And then if you're successful, and that's cool. Everybody's trying to make bread. Be clear. It's about the bottom line. And that's one of the questions I wanted to ask. Like, is there an alternative? And I think, Lone, you already jumped in there, man. You said just and say your point again, what you just said, as an alternative to that, to the advance.
Well, it seemed like his argument was, even if they give you an advance, they still end up owning it on the back end, right?
Right.
So
they own the master recording, and yeah.
So why can't you enter into a contract to where they still potentially owe you money back? Maybe. Well, I don't know. That's a little.
It's tricky. It's tricky. Yeah, it's tricky. Because we hear so many stories of people. The smart. Well, from what I would say, the smart ones are the ones that say, "Yeah, gave us an advance, but I also hustled outside of the advance to make some extra cheese." Like, then you also hear artists that blew through the advance. Right. And they were in debt. You know what I'm saying? So there's ways to play it. There we go. There's ways to play it. You know what I mean? But I just don't know what the alternative is, because the paperwork and the wording is so tricky. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like, it's
I mean, to my point, and then I'll let Jay talk. But I feel like you can get clever with the wording and you can get clever with everything, and you can still give the artist the ownership of their property.
Is it really though?
I feel like you can. I feel like you can do that. I mean, so I've written contracts before as somebody who runs a label, and
mild flex.
The way that I do it is pretty simple. Like, the artist always gets between 80 and 85% of everything. And if they ever want to take their art and go somewhere else, they can. But while they're on the label, then we collect residual, money. The only difference is that we don't supply like master distribution, like publication. You know what I mean? Like, we'll pub it, but we're going to push it everywhere. But we can still house everything. We can still take care of all the distribution on the back end. But as far as like owning it after, something's recouped, I think it's just in how you write the contract up, I don't
know. I feel you. No, it's one of those things of like, they'd have to change their whole business model, because like a lot of
that's
the music industry. Yeah. Like, cause the majority of the way people get paid is via royalty. Either be publishing or maybe even like mechanical royalties, things that are sold, played, et cetera, et cetera. And so you'd have to essentially go into a record label, them giving you a mass amount of money, giving you, essentially putting you in, because the reason you go to a record label is to be part of the lion's share of the market share, to dominate essentially.
Okay.
So I don't know. Like, I get his point. I'm just not mad at how record labels have been moving, just because that's just how the business has been. And so you would have to start hollering at companies like 300. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would have to essentially either go work with the companies that are doing what you do.
Are they 360 based though, or am I tripping?
360 is a little bit different than the regular standard contract.
I'm saying, isn't 300 bait? Don't they Isn't that pretty
No.
much what they all? They got legit. Okay, I can remember. I didn't know. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so the way 300 does it, that's the label. What's my man's the bald head stud, man?
Kevin Liles.
Kevin Liles, yeah, Kevin Liles.
Kevin Liles. There's one more.
And
the dude who helps with the Knicks, the marketing for the Knicks.
Yeah. He's got his
No,
own.
no, he
just
he
heard
has
about
his own thing. Yeah, that's right.
on Joe Budden. What? Guys, Steve Stout.
Steve Stout. Like, so you have ways of doing it where, but the thing that's happened is a lot of the new artists have gone over there. And so maybe they have different deals and profit share. But I think what ends up happening a lot of times is like, there has to be a Drake. There has to be a Pharrell. There has to be a Rihanna that goes to that label and dominates and then makes everybody else change their business model around it. And until somebody actually does that, it's sad for that shit.
Well,
That's real. Okay.
I mean, everybody talks about
them.
their masters and what we should do to, look, Ray Charles tried to show you all the way. Like, he walked in and told them white folks, look, and when I say white folks, I'm not talking about anybody listening right now.
We ain't talking about you, Long.
Y'all,
Not on this one.
y'all listen to new old heads. I'm not
Never know.
Not on this one. Yeah,
And
maybe next time. Not on this one.
He literally said, look, and I want to own my masters. And the guy behind the desk said, like, nobody has that. And he's like, if you want me here, I got to own my masters. This is the 50s, 60s, when they weren't trying to do this for any artist, not especially a black artist. So why is it that so many artists in 2000, because like, honestly, at this point, there was a whole time where you needed a record company to get your song on the radio, to make sure that your song had prominent placement in Target, in Best Buy, in Walmart. We're in a whole digital era now to where, like, you just need somebody to make sure you're on the right playlist. You need to make sure that they can at least get you up to Hot 97 or the Breakfast Club or whatever venue is going to have a nice YouTube situation for you so you can promote your album. You don't have to fly to each and every market to sit down with, whatever morning show. You just got to make sure that you're on the Breakfast Club, and you might already be in New York as it is. And so what it is to promote a record isn't what it was to promote a record when I was in radio, to where every time an artist came to town, like, he had to do a record pool meeting and sit down and buy everybody chicken wings and beer and whatever. Like, you don't have to do all that. You don't have to go to all these little mom and pop stores. Yeah. The game has changed. And a lot of times what a lot of these artists don't realize, they still have them under old record company rules in their contract. They're still charging them for jewel cases and promotional materials. And it's like, that's why you got to read your contract and know what it is that you're going to ask for when you walk into these situations. Because at this point, there's no more A&Ring. There's no more, okay, I believe in you as an artist. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to work together. We're going to create these records, and you're going to become the biggest artist in the world. No, what we have now is a situation where, if anything, all I do is look at YouTube and say, oh, this dude got 2 million YouTube views and he doesn't have a record deal. Let's see if I can partner with him. You already, just like we talked about weeks ago when we talked about how there are no more R&B groups, because you can't be you have to be a finished product in 2021 before these major labels are going to throw any money at you or deal at you. Because a lot of times
I have 1 million plus views.
Yeah. So if you're not already a finished product, you're not getting any looks anyway. So, if you know you're a finished product, and maybe you only trying to, if you're trying to make, say, $250,000, like, you got to think, okay, do I want to take $2 million in advance so I can make $250,000 when if I really want to get out here and just sell some sweatshirts and and do what I got to do as an independent artist, I can still make that same amount of money and not incur all this record company debt. It's an old model. Trying to take money from
hit it on the head.
Is an old model, and artists, they can't be so enamored. Like, I just signed with Def Jam, Universal. You shouldn't be excited about that shit at all. Like, I remember when Cardi B
that don't hit the same.
I remember when Cardi B signed her deal with Atlantic. I was like, and it's funny, Metronome will tell you this story, like how I would talk to him about Cardi B for, like, when I was telling him about Gangsta Bitch Music 1 and 2, I was like, yo, she's going to be a star. And I was like, why would Cardi B sign a record deal? Cardi B already had it. But it's worked out for her. But I don't think it would work out for her. I think there are other artists who sign the record deals. I'm like, why would you sign a record deal? You already are hot in the streets. You get money. You're doing shows, and nobody's taking a cut of what it is you're doing.
It's not overly necessary, I don't think. I think to what I was going to say, to Slot's point, when I was talking, like in the same reason why I built what I built is the power is in the artist's hands right now, I feel. And so 100%. Like as an artist looking for stuff, like you don't have to get something that's all encompassed into like the label does everything. Like you can get distribution and find your distribution somewhere and then find something else elsewhere. Like, I don't know, like the question in itself, like, is there an alternative solution to label advances? Like the obvious answer is, why are we talking about label advances?
Why are you taking a label advance when you've already got a song that's streaming? You already shot a video. Why are you taking money from the label to shoot a video? Why are you taking? The
record was mixed. The record was mixed and stuff before when y'all saw me. Like we've already recorded the mix to master.
Like a lot of artists already have a do it yourself.
DIY, yep.
Right already.
Yeah.
Why did you say?
It's mostly the I was gonna say it's the distribution in general.
Okay. Go ahead, Sly. What were you gonna say?
A lot of people take those advances because they're coming from dire straits.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So like somebody might, all right, man, I've been coming out of pocket for this. Me and my homeboy have been sitting in here in this apartment knocking out these records. Now I haven't been paying them, but we've been figuring out other ways to make money. A lot of those advances don't necessarily go directly to the artist's pocket just to spend. A lot of that shit goes to like the actual financing of a project, paying for marketing, et cetera, et cetera. It's taking a business loan and still not really owning the company, right, more than anything else. You know what I'm saying? So like, whereas you have a situation with Lone where Lone joins me as a minority partner through the duration of this project. My bad. Right. This is mad technical, but that's why a lot of, you know what I'm saying? But you join the record label any day of the week. Like even Nipsey did it, and that's one of my favorites. That's my heart right there. That's one of my favorite artists. He took it because he knew its market share over just having a share. You know what I'm saying? Being a quarter partner of Apple hits a little bit different than just having Apple stock, if you get what I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay. See your point. I mean, it's funny that these two topics really are just highlighting how much bullshit is into, how much bullshit the music industry is. Like,
and you get bullshit, and you get bullshit.
Yeah, it's gonna be you gotta wade through a whole bunch of bullshit. But at this point, man, you look at our, go ahead, Long.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, one of the questions, like Nate said, he was scratching his head at Gibbs signing to a label, and Mac Miller did it too. Like in his, like, when he was hit his peak, and we've seen a lot of artists that will sign those deals right when it's like, why are they signing them? But a lot of them is because they want to reach even more people, and the labels just have that much more push. And so,
right.
Even though we're talking about like you can do it all yourself and you can be fine with it, I think it's just a different tax bracket here. Like, with a lot of these guys,
the connections are different.
Yeah.
And
so to maybe Pharrell's point, I think it goes back to what Slot was saying early on. Like, they would legitimately have to change their business model, and there would have to be pressure for them to change their business model, and there just isn't any. So why would they?
I think the biggest piece of the conversation that has come up, and I've seen Steve Stout be a part of at least 3 of them in regards to Drake. All right. Drake is potentially about to leave the Young Money situation or whatever the case may be. If he leaves and he goes independent, what happens to the music industry? Because he has the lion's share of the market share.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Who eats from the remaining masters, et cetera, et cetera. I just saw an article where Birdman was saying he still makes $30 million a year from the masters from Cash Money.
Easy. Easy.
So I can only imagine how much Universal is getting from having all those various artists associated. Interscope, Warner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I don't know, man. It's all very. There's a lot of money on the table, and you also have to know that, like, this shit is like being a part of the mob. I think a lot of people get into this creative shit and love to be creative and love to stay in that mode. And then when you get into this, you find out how cliquish and how politicky this is.
Right.
Man.
When you start getting them labels, man, like you was telling, like you were just saying, dog, I just got an email the other day for, like, it was, I forgot what project Jeezy dropped. It was like maybe last year.
Mm-hmm.
They still doing calls. They still doing DJ calls, bro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Because you still have to mobilize people. You still have a PR team. You might not necessarily have A&Rs going to venues like they used to, and then spending time. Like, dog, if you really listen to the Usher story, the Usher story is crazy. They took a 14-year-old kid from Chattanooga, Tennessee, brought him to New York, had him up in Harlem, wilding the hell out. And then during one of his sessions, he was talking about a girl. He was like, yo, you just ain't singing it right. Yo, man. Yo, one of the girls in here, give him some.
Yeah.
That was a part of his A&R and artist development, dog.
Yeah. Talk to him.
What?
Talk to him.
A different time.
Way different time. Yeah, that's a different time.
What?
We talking about My Way Usher. I had the album.
Come on, man.
No, we talking about
was it before that?
Can You Get With It, Usher? We talking about Think of You, Usher.
Yeah.
We talking about those days.
Yeah.
We talking bird chest with the satin shirt open. Big jeans.
Yeah.
Wind blowing.
Yeah.
Like that was him, bro.
𝐀𝐄𝐿 jeans,
Come
man.
on.
Two side talk. Don't mess with me, Slide. You know I know what I'm talking
man.
about. 𝐀𝐿 jeans.
You know
now.
the ankle. You know the ankles look like Sharpays. He was stepping on the back of them things, man. It was the 90s, dog.
Oh man,
But
They had a whole hole underneath it.
Come on, man.
my God, right in the back. What?
You wore them joints out. Come on, man. I don't remember that.
Come on, man. That boy probably still had play clothes, man. Let's be honest, bro. But that's what you're talking about. You're talking about that particular time in music history. And a lot of these dudes move like the mob.
Yep.
Tribe told us. Tribe told us.
That what was it, 480?
400, was it 480 record?
Yeah, record.
480.
Yeah.
Shady.
4080.
1080. Yeah.
Shady.
If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure to join our live show every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/newoldheads. And we invite you to join our hip hop community on Discord. Access it by going to newoldheads.com/community for talks on hip hop, sports, music, news, and everything else.